Hey guys, so I made a bit of a mess with the baking video. I know you're so surprised, but decided I'd put the work in. I might as well see if I could salvage it. So kind of reevaluated what the video would be about because of errors in the way I set up the camera. It was just not clear. You couldn't see the ingredients. So it just didn't lend itself to like a step-by-step. The real point of it was to show some of my tips and tricks for making like the best chocolate chip cookies of your life and for having them on hand like that. So that's what the video ended up being. And even though I had a lot of issues with filming, which you'll see some of them, I didn't edit out everything. One, because, that's real life, but two, because some of the things I just couldn't fix. But that's okay. It's still something I made and I'm still going to share it and hope that it benefits people. So that's what this video is about. So if you're interested in delicious cookies, then this video is for you. If you're going to do the cookies the way that I'm going to show you, you're going to need to do them at least a few hours, if not a day or two before you want to bake them. The butter, I get it out the night before so that it's plenty soft. If you forget to do that or last minute want to make some cookies, you can soften it in the microwave on the lowest power setting, but it's not going to be quite as good as if you leave it out. If you're going to make them later in the day, you could always put the butter out earlier. It just needs at least a few hours to soften up. It should be, let's see if I can, pretty soft. Like you should be able to make a dent with your finger. I'm going to show you the first part, which is creaming the butter and sugar. Do not put the eggs in at this step. And I do usually set out most of my ingredients ahead of time just because I can be forgetful. So if I can see them and then move them to a different area once I've put them in, that helps me to remember what I've already added. There is more brown sugar than white sugar. That might be one thing that could be different from a recipe that you've tried before, is that some of them have an equal part. I just think it's a big key to put in more brown sugar than white sugar. Then we're gonna add our cup of brown sugar, which mine's kind of hard right now. There's a couple things you can do. If your brown sugar goes hard, you can put in a piece of bread for a couple hours or overnight, or you can actually microwave it for a little bit. And when it's done creaming, I'll show you kind of what it should look like. I know that I've had to add things to my recipe over the years because it's things I just do and I don't really think about it. But then when I try to tell someone else or share the recipe, they're like wondering why it turns out differently. And then I realized it's because a lot of times I would start it creaming, and then because I am always trying to do too many things at once, I would leave it creaming and go do something else and then come back and proceed on. But I never realized, oh, I should probably put that in the recipe because it does take at least 5 minutes to get that way. But I never really accounted for it because I just am so used to doing something else while it's creaming. So that's a tip you're gonna want to try, is to cream it really well, especially since my butter was pretty soft, but if yours is a little less soft, you're definitely gonna wanna do it longer to get it all blended in. It shouldn't be really gritty. It's gonna be a little bit, but it should be pretty smooth. And I'll show a close up when that part's done. How it should look. See, it's a pretty light color, and let me get my spatula and see if I can show you the consistency is really fluffy. Now you can hear a little bit of grit, but it shouldn't be really gritty from the sugar not blending. It should be pretty smooth. It's good to scrape the sides and the beater off occasionally. Now we're gonna add the eggs, and once the eggs are in, we do not want to overmix it. So I don't add them while it's mixing, because if I get a shell in there, then it can sometimes hide it or crush it. So I add them while the mixer's not on, but some of the other ingredients I add while it's on. So, okay, I'm gonna show you how it should look after the eggs are incorporated. You'll see that it is smooth, not perfectly so. You don't want to do that. I do actually do things in a little different order than a lot of recipes. I add the eggs and mix them a little bit, and then I add, I call them the accessories, the little things before the flour. Because once the flour hits and it gets kind of thick, it just doesn't blend as well. I know some people mix the dry ingredients and all that. I'm not getting a bunch of extra dishes out. I'm not gonna take an extra step. I don't sift my flour, none of that. I know somebody's probably gonna have a problem with that, but they turn out good, so who cares? I love this brand. It just makes a big difference. And I'm gonna scrape it. And then the next part, I'm gonna add the flour. You just want it to come together. So it's pretty much chocolate chip time. My mom always had one, and I found one I think at a thrift store, and I love it. So I usually either eyeball or do like 2+ cups, and I will show you what it looks like. You can see that it's pretty well incorporated, and it looks like plenty of chocolate chips. So I don't think I'm going to add any more from my canister. Long time ago, I started doing the cookie dough, then I would bake some and freeze the rest, and noticed that the texture and flavor improved drastically when they weren't baked fresh. It does take more time, but I've been trying lately to do things for my future self. And although it takes a little more time on the front end, it saves time and has a better result on the back end. So I'm gonna show what I do for that, but I'm gonna save back two to bake fresh, and I'll show you the difference, because later on I will bake them from frozen and you can see the difference in texture. Obviously you can't see the difference in flavor, you just have to trust me on that one. I do wanna say, when I bake my cookies, I use these USA pans. I love them. So I discovered that one batch of cookies, if I really get them in here, will fit on this pan in the freezer. So I'm gonna put all but two. So I guess I know myself, I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna scoop the first two onto this pan so I do not forget to do that. And then I'm gonna put the rest on this pan. As you can see, I've got them all on here except for the two that I baked fresh. I get about 3½ dozen cookies out of this. So I'm gonna take this now. I'm gonna go slide this in the freezer. So I've got the fresh ones ready, and I'm gonna show a close-up. They still get pretty crispy while still being soft in the middle. I'm gonna taste test it, even though I know how they turn out. Yeah, still a good quality cookie. Texture's pretty good. It's a little different from when I do them frozen. I think for me, the most noticeable difference is the flavor, which seems weird, but because it allows the flavors to meld and develop and become richer, and that is why they do taste better, in my opinion, if you freeze them before baking. But these are still a good cookie. I'll check back in a minute. All right, it's been about 3½ hours, so as you can hear, they're very hard, which is perfect because we're going to put them in this bag, just throwing them all in there, sealing the air out and putting them in the freezer. And then I've got my other two there in the back, to bake up from frozen to show the difference. So that'll be the next thing that you get to see. All right, so I baked the frozen ones. Not sure if you can tell, but they definitely got more crispy on the bottom, but they have a nice, more like a gooey center. They're not as cakey, so they really just have a better texture, I think. Yeah, so much crunchier on the bottom, but without drying out the middle. Let's see if I can get that to show up. That's the way I prefer them. Hopefully those tips will inspire you to kind of revamp your chocolate chip cookies. Blech, chocolate chip cookies. But a lot of the tips apply to other cookies as well. And if there's any tips, or if you want a step-by-step of chocolate chip cookies, or if there's other things like that in the baking, I'd like to do more baking in the future, I think. Well, videos. I do lots of baking. And I will be still doing some just household tips, tricks, my attempts at fixing things, because I don't always get it right. And hopefully that will inspire you to not be afraid to do things yourself. Mess things up, no big deal. You can fix them, you'll learn something from it, because that's real life.